Welcome to the Sewing Whisperer. In this video we're looking at working with layers, how to add, lock, turn on and off layers, as well as move the stacking order of layers. We're now going to look at layers, and we're going to draw some shapes on layers so that you'll have a file that looks something like this. So first of all, if you go File, New, and in here go to Print. If you can't see A4, view all presets and then select A4, set the points to centimeters and leave everything else as default and create. Now if you can't see your layers, to open those layers you go Window, Alpha Layers. If you'd like to set your screen up as I have, I've got a video on that, so just click, I've got the link listed below, so just click on the link or click up here and you can watch the video that shows how to set your screen up as I have it. So now we have a blank document. We're going to turn the grid on, so View, down the bottom Show Grid, and over here on the layer palette you have Layer 1. That's the default name that the program allocates, so we're going to call this, double click on the word Layer 1 and we're going to call it Square. Then we'll create a new layer and we'll call it Circle. So to do that I clicked on this little menu here and that said New Layer, and then I named it. Another way to create a new layer is to go down the bottom here to the plus, and this time we'll double click on it and we'll call this one Star. So with the square as the active layer, if you have a look over here we have our fill and stroke. So fill means when we draw a box it will be filled with white and it'll have a black outline. So let's get a shape. So the default rectangle tool is generally the one sitting there, so make sure you've got your rectangle tool. Just click and drag to create a square, and if you hold shift it will keep the properties of a square. Now if we have a look at that square, you can see it's filled with white and has a black stroke around it. If I bring the stroke box to the front by clicking on it, so that's the stroke, now I can change the stroke over here and I'll change it to 4. You can see you've got a much thicker stroke that's very obvious. I'm going to select that again, so with the black selection tool I'm selecting it and then I'm going to go back to 1, and to deselect I just click anywhere in the white area to deselect. Okay, let's change the color of the square. So we'll select it with the black selection tool, bring the fill to the front, and over in the color bar we'll click somewhere in the red, and that will fill our square, and then we'll deselect. So you can go over to the selection tool and click in the white area anywhere to deselect, or you can hold Command and deselect, and then you've still got your selection tool. Not that we really need it for the moment. So the next thing we're going to do is to create a circle. So we'll click on the circle layer, we'll go and get our ellipse tool, which is underneath the rectangle tool, and then if you click and drag, hold shift, it will keep a perfect circle. So just click and drag a circle, and then we're going to change the color of that circle. So we're going to make the circle blue. So if you come over and just click somewhere in the blue. If you don't like that color you can double click on there and the color picker will come up, and I'm going to click in the corner to get the brightest blue possible, and then with my black selection tool I'll move that up so it's sitting over the top of the square. Next I'll go to the star layer. Under the shapes I'm going to get the star. I'll click and drag. If I hold shift it will keep it straight up and down. If I don't hold shift I can move it around. So I'm going to hold shift. It doesn't really matter the size or whether it's straight up and down or not. And then we're going to, with the fill box as the active tool, go over and pick in yellow. So we have a yellow star. So I'll drag that with the black selection tool. I'm dragging the star and putting it on top. So if you have a look, the red square is at the back, the blue circles in the middle, and the yellow stars on top. If we have a look in our layers, the red square is at the bottom layer, the blue circle's the middle layer, and the star is the top. We can move those around. If I click on star, click and drag down. Now don't sit right on the square because that would put the star in the square layer. Keep moving down until you get the little blue line and let go. Now the star is the bottom layer in the layer palette, and it's also the bottom object over here. I could take the circle and I could click and drag and place it between the square and the star. So now it's the middle circle. I can lock the star. So now with my black selection tool, I can't select the star, but I can select the blue circle and the red square. I can unlock by just unlocking. I can turn the eye off the star. So it's still there, it's just not visible. Let's make a copy of the blue to a new layer. So we'll create a new layer. Now whichever layer is selected, the new layer will sit just above that layer. So we'll just click on the plus and we'll name this green circle. So with that blue circle selected, you see you get a little red square here. I can click and drag that up, but hold Option or Alt to do that, and it makes a copy. So I've now copied that blue circle above the original blue circle. So if I get my selection tool and drag, here's the new green circle, and we might as well color it green so it makes sense. So click in the green, and now we have a green circle that's sitting above the blue. So if I click in that little dot there, I've selected the blue circle. If I click in the little dot there, I've selected the red square. Now a couple of other things to mention are the handles that appear. So if we click on the red square, you can see I have blue handles, which shows that it's selected. Sometimes you'll want to change them. So to change those, you can see the little blue lines telling me what color those handles are. I can double click away from the word square, double click, and I could change that to another color. So I could say make it gold. And now the handles on that are gold, not blue. So if I click, they've turned gold. I don't like to use yellow, so let's make the star yellow and I'll show you why. Drag down to yellow, okay. Click on it, particularly when it's the same color as the object. You just can't see them. It's terribly hard to see the points when they're yellow. So that's why I don't like yellow. I'll put that back to a color that I can see. So let's go up and make it green. Okay, it's not really relevant. You don't see them anyway. It's just for working with. And I don't like black either. So if I was to select the green circle, double click, make the handles black. Very hard if you've got a black stroke to see what you're doing when you've got black handles around the object. So I just find that very hard. If I get my white selection tool, come back and select on the corner here, you can see I've got handles. These are known as handles. You'll only get them on curved lines. But sometimes those handles will be sitting right on that black line and it's so hard to see them along with the point. So that's why I don't like to have black or yellow as those colors. So I'll change that back and I'll make it pink. Okay, much easier to work with. Alright, so that's the finish of layers. Let's save this file. So we can say File, Save. Locate a destination that makes sense to you, and I'm just going to call this Layers. And save. So you will see now that that name has changed to Layers. So this was the original shape file that I showed at the start of the video, and this is now the layers that we've just created. So hopefully now you have a much clearer understanding of how layers work. Thanks so much for watching. Please hit the subscribe button and give this a thumbs up if you'd like to see more videos.